Alrighty, howdy neighbors and welcome back to Fault Milestone One. Last time we started to use Kravte on this guy, and we're gonna see how well that goes. I'm guessing not very well. I feel my physical body, but my consciousness is sinking. It's like getting sucked into a deep darkness. Okay, I've established a link with you, Albus. Next to Retona. Retona's will. Delphine serves as an intermediary connecting the three of us. It allows us all to share our consciousnesses. Is that even? What we will now conduct is referred to as a mind dive. It is a type of Kravte, which is mainly used to establish links between the consciousness of one or more parties. How do you feel, Albus? This all feels very strange. The sounds around me are slowly fading away, and now my consciousness is becoming trapped inside. Inside there's a girl, Delphine, whose existence is growing more and more pronounced. We're just about ready, Retona. Could you bless, please? Understood. Suddenly now Retona is joining my consciousness. All of this, truly, there are no words I can use to describe this. Let's begin. This place is Lab 9. How do we get in this place? This place is called Media Story. It's a space serving as the materialized form of your subconscious. Manifestation of my subconscious. A manifestation of my subconscious? My thoughts just flow out without my knowing it. We are currently in the realm of your subconscious. Our subconscious. All the things you wish to ask us, and any information that you allow us to know is conveyed to us purely as is. In that sense, you want to be able to hear my thoughts as well. Rather than move, but I can still hear a voice. I'm sure it comes as quite a surprise to you, but I'm sure you'll quickly get used to it. I see. How do I put it? It's as if I've wandered straight into a fairy tale. Normally this Kravte, a mind dive, is supposed to last but a moment or two. A conversation that would normally last a full hour will only take a split second. Though sometimes circumstances can cause it to take longer. Most of the time, when there are multiple people in it, it does take quite a bit longer. This time, since there's 3 of us, and so that's less alienating to Albus, I structured it as more of a conversation between us. I'm grateful for that, I suppose. Should I? Now I'm the one that can't follow the conversation. Should I? Now I'm the one who can't follow the conversation. I can tell you're pretty nervous about all this, so I'll try to explain it a little better. As Retona said earlier, Media Story is a space manifested from your subconscious. In here, there's no distinction between truth and lies. The only thing here is the mana within your body and mind. It contains your pure, unadulterated memories, and the unconscious mind that allows you to convey them. Conveying my memories, both my conscious and subconscious. Humans do have some memories which they'd rather not let others know of. Your conscious and unconscious self have the right to choose what to show us and what not to. There are things you feel you must tell us, and things you feel you mustn't. For these sealed off memories, even someone like me who could freely use a mind dive cannot peek into those. Essentially, except for the things you choose to tell us or show us, the rest of it will not be conveyed to us. I can't believe such amazing technology actually exists in this world. The mind dive is quite a peculiar craft. Only those who can use the path down are able to utilize it. Basically, it's a craft only royalty can use. It's not something that needs to be shared, so I'm keeping these thoughts and memories closed off. Is that so? I don't fully understand, but that means that we can take your time here and discuss whatever we wish at our own pace. No. We don't need to go about it in such a roundabout manner. You should be able to communicate via senses as well. Once you open up the information we need to exchange, whatever you would like to share with us should freely flow out. Nothing's happening. Looks like we need a little more time. I suppose this is what it's like dealing with someone from the outer pole. The flow of internal mana is a little stagnant. It will take some time for it to react. Why don't we relax for a little until we get used to it? Sooner or later, we won't have to speak. Instead, our consciousnesses will just freely share information. Alright. Still, this really is quite a strange experience. It's like I could see through into the two of you. Your personalities, your humanity, I can perceive directly. And we can say the same to you, Albus. This room represents who you are as a person. The space is clean and well organized. The lighting is just right, and the entire area is stable. It's a sign that your thoughts are coexisting amicably with ours. If the compatibility is off, then the incongruities in one's personality will either reject the mind dive entirely, or the space of the media story would be dark and warped. I see. I appreciate the compliments, but I'm not exactly the nicest person there is. The truth is, I've had some doubts about you two. That you may be industry spies. For all I know, you may have been sent by hives. We've known, after we felt that from him some time back. But now I see it so clearly now. Like the anxieties in my heart have been cleansed. You two, the two of you truly simply want to talk to me. And more than that, the two of you truly are that worried about Sarah. Oh, it's begun. Alright, glad we shall get all of it. When discussing the Svitz siblings and Sarah, there's another vital person we must discuss. Sid Svitz. He is the founder of Svitz Enterprise and the father of Rudo and Rune. The Svitz family was never an affluent one. Born the eldest son of the family, ever since he was a child, he was different from his peers. I've been with him since I was young, and we were practically brothers. Of all the people that I had grown up with in the slums, he was the only person who I'd ever remained friends with till the very end. His father was reprehensible, a worthless man, an alcoholic who would become violent with his own family. Truly savage. He wouldn't lift a finger or do any honest work, instead using his shady connections for get-rich-quick schemes to smuggle a large amount of purified mana into the outer pole. When Sid was 9, that man said that he would leave to find work elsewhere and promptly disappeared from Cadia. Sid had to take care of his weak mother all by himself. At the time, the idea of using mana for energy hadn't existed in Cadia. Instead, we had to use coal or kerosene to make it through winter. The winter cold was so harsh that there were numerous casualties every year. It was where we lived, the slums, that was always the hardest. If only we had some kerosene. Until he lost his mother, Sid had often repeated that phrase. He and I did our damnedest, working with everything we had to keep his mother in good health. But of course, we were still only 9 years of age. Whatever we made never amounted to much. After 2 years of painful struggle, Sid's mother passed away when we were only 11 years old. That year, something inside of Sid changed. He had always been prejudiced against the world, cursing it every chance he got, but that changed completely. Perhaps he came to an epiphany. Unless he changes, the world will swallow him up whole. That if he goes on like this, his life will be amounted to nothing but him crawling in the dirt. He accepted the unjustness and brutality of the world. With his mother passing, Sid was alone and free to do what he wanted. Whenever he had time, he would talk about mana. At the time, It was also completely beyond me. Sid's father, whom he hated, was obsessed with mana. Although he had hated it, he continued to pursue it, which wasn't something one would expect. Unlike his father, however, he wasn't interested in short-term get-rich-quick schemes. While we continued working in the coal mines, he would pilfer sediment that had trace amounts of colored mana in it, bringing them back as research material. Now, Performer's in a pretty bad mood today. I knew this was going to be some hard work, but I tell you, being a coal mine worker ain't something a human ought to do. Barely passes enough just to put food on the table. My joints are all just screaming in pain. Still, we gotta consider ourselves lucky to even have work. Looks like this year's winter is gonna be incredibly cold as well. Looks is freaking hot while we're working. Haha. Rather be moving around and working than just sitting around a school all day. It's way more fulfilling. Who the heck would want to waste a childhood and dumb like that? Not me, that's for sure. Aha, you got a point there. Alright, Albus, let me show you something really cool. What is that? That's right, it's sediment. There's not a lot of it, but there's definitely a little bit of colored mana inside. Would you even? We're mining. That coal mine might actually be a mana mine. What have you done, Sid? Don't tell me you're gonna sell that. No way, that's dirty money. They'll find you and throw you in prison. That'll be stupid. They would sell such a valuable sample. Sample? Actually, this isn't the first sample I found. The first one I found was smaller than a pea. But the deeper I dug, the sediment just kept getting bigger and bigger. I've been sneaking out sediment for that long. Look, just listen to what I have to say first, okay? I made a pretty interesting discovery. Come by my laboratory later. Laboratory? You mean your house, right? Oh, come on. The name's pretty important now. If I said my place, it would get you fired up. Or it won't get you fired up. I'm struggling to understand your logic here. Look, just pay me a visit, alright? Besides, we could just head straight there, couldn't we? Oh, well, I suppose we could, but... Today's the day when my mom, you know. I thought I'd leave her a flower or two. I see. It's already been that long, huh? Anyway, just me at my laboratory. See you there. Fast forward to a few years later. We began to immerse ourselves in colored mana purification research. We conducted all sorts of absurd experiments. Sid loved high-risk experiments, a trait he may have inherited from his father. On one occasion, he suffered a mana shock and ended up being unable to move his left arm. As I continued to support Sid, we spent our adolescent years in mana research. Every day, every single day of it. We toiled as if possessed by the gods of mana themselves. With countless failures, we finally succeeded. But finally, we were able to purify colored mana. It isn't self-praise or exaggeration. It truly was the discovery of the century. The news quickly spread throughout the entire outer pole. Then one day we began to look for investors who were willing to commercialize the mana system. Why? Tell me, so what was all that hard work for then? What exactly are we going to do if we don't look for investors? Our conversion efficiency is just as filter isn't good enough. The sediment has low mana concentration, then that means there isn't going to be enough energy. Just how much time do you think it takes to convert enough energy to match a candle that lasts burning for 2-3 hours? At this point, coal mining is still more efficient. Well, of course, our research is just in its initial stages. If we continue our line of research, then... By the way, have you heard of electricity before? Electricity? Are you talking about that person in the third sector that's trying to control the energy from lightning? That's right. When I heard that technology is still in its infancy. Not only that, it's quite dangerous. According to the opinion of the Board of Science, I probably won't see any widespread use anytime soon. The opinion of those idiots over at the board ain't worth their salt. If mana didn't actually exist, then I'm sure as heck would be looking into electricity too. Besides, if we're talking about danger here, Mana's just as guilty. Heck, it might be that Mana's way more dangerous than electricity. What would make you say that? My left arm's been acting up again lately. Does it still hurt? No, not exactly. It's just like, I don't know, it's weird. Like it's slowly being eaten away by something. What a nut. Has it been that way ever since you were able to move it? Nah, just recently. I didn't say anything at first, because it didn't really get in the way of work. But it's been hard to ignore lately. I don't know what's causing it. No clue. One thing's for sure. Still a whole lot of unknowns we've yet to discover about mana. As a result of further research, we succeeded in generating a stable, usable amount of mana. In the meantime, we managed to meet willing investors who were interested in our work despite our youth. We got lucky, I commented, but Sid said, no, we made this happen in response. He was the type who hated fatalistic mindsets. A few years later, everything was going smoothly. Thanks to the investors, Svit's enterprise was established without a hitch. At the same time of the founding, Sid had married the girl from a neighboring town who had entered the company. Her name was Aline. It should be Aline. Crossrow. She had unnaturally beautiful emerald eyes and pearly white skin. Outspoken and imbued with a strong sense of justice. However, she had been born with a weak constitution, much like Sid's mother. Her, Aline's, wish was to benefit other people and the world. She was the type of person who could change the atmosphere just by being there. No matter how rebellious or contrarian someone is, he would immediately become docile and obedient when faced with her. One couldn't help but to think she was a good person, regardless of logic or reason. She was simply, truly lovable human being. There wasn't anyone who wouldn't be inspired by her zeal. As Fitz grew in power, so did the profits and efficiency, as it continued to devote itself to the greater good. It didn't reach its peak efficiency, but when the winter came, it managed to cut casualties down by less than half. Down to less than half, whoops. The company continued to gain influence. As we continued to grow in fame and fortune, Rudo was born. Rudo, he was a truly brilliant child. Having inherited both Aline's kindness and his father's wisdom, Rudo was truly a good person. We lived our days in happiness. At the time, we hadn't realized, somewhere unbeknownst to us, we had created a great and powerful enemy. He said, Aline, have you heard about hives? That's the company of that idiot who tried controlling lightning, right? Of course I have. I have too, and none of it's any good. The filter they're using, that's the one that Sid designed. Shouldn't we do something about them? Who cares? Honestly, I don't even know what they're trying to do with the old relics of filters. But that clearly means he's painting a target on your back. He must be bitter that you've ruined his plans for electricity. That a bastard can do whatever the hell he wants to. He failed to make electricity succeed. He's got a grudge against us. And now he's sticking his neck into the mana industry. On top of it all, he used the product that his rival designed to start his own company. He sure has guts, I'll give him that. That kind of audacity sure reminds me of a certain someone. Don't be stupid. Won't do anything like that, he's got no vision. Touché. But you have a point. What does he hope to accomplish by using those filters? It's a losing strategy when going up against us. Well, who knows? We're up against someone who's trying to use his enemy's ideas against him and live. You'd be surprised at how tough a nutjob like that is to take down. What's wrong, Aline? Looking pretty pale. I have a bad feeling about all this. How come? It's just everything has been going so smoothly for all of us. Something's gotta happen sooner or later. Hey now, talking about karma? We ain't done a single awful thing to anybody. Why do you think we need to pay back for all the happiness we've been experiencing so far? I suppose so. Years later, Rune was born. With almost inexplicable timing, Hive's experienced an explosion of growth. Despite being of no competition in terms of both experience with mana and underlying technologies, it managed to one-up us in terms of business acumen. Acumen? Acumen. Their expansion was absolutely unprecedented. No one was able to anticipate that Hives would gain enough power to compete with Sphinx in just a few short years. Man is likely to become a highly dangerous substance to its residents of the outer pole. Just it had been to Sid, whose left arm was affected. Make no mistake, you could lose your life. Sid knew that well, because enough investors in the company were secured. Sid was able to prioritize development of the medical treatments when Sphinx Enterprise was first established. Aline spearheaded the charge, having Sphinx assemble every skilled doctor around, and founded Sphinx Medica. People had to undergo proper training to handle mana as part of their work in Sphinx. Sphinx dedicated its resources to educating and training its employees. However, it takes time to develop competent mana miners and sediment handlers. Regardless, developing skilled, educated personnel and providing a safe work environment were top priority. On the other hand, Hive's strategy was to completely ignore all such safety protocols and exploit the poor economic situation. Hive's strategy, Process 1. It was a drug extracted from mana, creating humans who could continue to work without sleep or rest, and who would produce antibodies that would help combat mana. Furthermore, the subject of the drug were promised a lifetime employment, immunity to low-level mana shock, and superhuman strength. Hives poured its efforts into marketing itself as an entity that could grant those kinds of abilities, serving to exciting its subjects all the more. The masses ate up Hive's hyperbole-filled slogans. I couldn't read that word for a second. It was a devious strategy that resonated with everyone at a time when employment was at an all-time low. Hey, that was just too much. Yeah. The after effects on subjects. I can't believe they're that horrible. Completely losing it because of insomnia. Creating nothing but skin and bones. Bodies rotting away due to particle mana shock. That abbey was filled with the victims of Hive's operations. Some patients even had to get carried off to a church in a neighboring town. I know. Instead, we have another problem. I brought Elaine and Medica's chief over to the Friars to propose the construction of the general hospital under Sphinx, but he gave it the stink eye. Yes, rather, we were assailed with some rather unbecoming speech. It was because of people like us that the god of mana was angered, causing these victims in the first place. That this was divine retribution for being so blinded by her greed and desire for convenience. Damn. Can't exactly tell whether or not the priest was right. But this isn't the time for that. I believe we need to pursue the medical project more than ever. Why doesn't the government just outlaw the human testing of Process 1? That would solve the problem together. I'm sure that if the Board of Science would just do something, the government would. Doubt that. People are dying. The technology to create Process 1 of mana was developed on the outer pole. Only those who've been trained can make it, and of course, we need to use machinery that's only available on the outer pole. So here's my take on the whole situation. The government, the Board of Science, and Hives are all in cahoots. You're really exporting Process 1. What? Why'd they do that? First possible use of it that came to mind was the same thing that Hives does for their workers. Drugs that dope up crafters. Performance enhancement for armies. Or maybe they found ways to weaponize stuff. Well, still a pretty new substance. Depending on where the research goes, they can find all sorts of uses for it. No. Well, not that I have any proof or anything, it's all just guess. Said the worse your predictions get, the more likely they are to come true. Anyway, putting all that aside, let's get back on track. Like Alba said, I don't plan to give up on getting the hospital set up. But Sid, vast majority of those patients would rather seek salvation from the church than medical attention from a hospital. I'm sure that they try to get into an overcrowded eBay than a newly built hospital. And if that isn't possible, they'll just resolve themselves to death. People hate us that much. It can't be. We didn't do anything for people to hate us that much, right? I suppose it's the average layman. There isn't much difference between Hives and us. In any case, I don't see any real point in constructing a hospital, the way things are going now. Damn. What do we do then? Well, Sid, I have a plan. What you said about the government and Hives earlier got me thinking. Why don't we just make the church allies with Spitz? Financially backing is a given. We renovate our facilities, get the new equipment, maybe even build a new eBay together. And then we name the hospital after the church, put it under their management. But in exchange, the actual hospital's operations will remain under Spitz Medica. How about that? But, as I say, this is Latin. I am not a Latin guy, I'm sorry. I cannot speak Latin. They will reign, but not govern. Wait just a minute here. This entire thing has gotten so huge. I don't even know where to begin. Besides, they clearly hate us. What makes you think they'd even want to work with us? I have a good idea. But quite a number of sisters passed away the other day due to contagious form of mana shock. There were some who put their life on the line, trying to subdue the patients who had grown violent and unstable. They tried to quell some men who were many times stronger than they were, must have swollen from the doping effects. With love as their only weapon. Anyway, they did absolutely everything in their power to provide the utmost care to the patients. Sid, would you dedicate our next project on absolute obedience automata, the sisters? Or rather than models specifically made for mana mines, we should focus on creating humanoid models to help support the sisters. That way they can protect the sisters from any contagious forms of mana shock, or any patients who get too violent. Erline, that's quite an ambitious plan, but it might actually work out. I'll pass the proposal to our mechanical engineering partners about this. There's sort of poetic justice to all this. People like us, who make a living of science. Probably the least theistic thing out there. We save our religion. Like we have to pay attention to the little details like that. We have to focus on caring for the patients and minimizing the victims. A few days later, we headed to the church. Father, we are indebted for being allowed an audience today. But of course, anything for the famous president of Spitz Enterprise, whom the church so despises. Now what is it? Mr. Sid Spitz, what is it that you and your organization need of us? My wife told me about your circumstances here the other day. I heard that many of the sisters here had become victims of the subjects that they were trying to save. This is the unfortunate truth. This state of affairs has brought about by the competition between you and hives. By playing with mana, you treat the blessings of God like mere toys. You understand that this is blasphemy. If you have anything to say, as a fool who chose to ignore their faith and blindly pursue science until its bitter end, I have no words to offer in my defense. But we as Spitz have no intention on just giving up. Even if Spitz Enterprise were to abandon its mana race and let hives win, that won't put a stop to the victims. I can confidently say that we're on the side of good here. We conduct our business with the highest moral and ethical standards. To me, the nature of your business and hives are one and the same. I'm well aware of that. However, I want you to understand that we will not back down against hives. We have our own beliefs to adhere to. Why do you continue to rebel against God like this? It is God's will that we must simply accept, so we can carry out His divine plan. Is it that difficult to simply accept what has been given to you, and live life within your means? Science is nothing but the height of folly. It is proof that you are ungrateful to the blessings in the life that you have received. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Sure, that might be the case for you. Let me tell you this, Father. As long as we humans have that thing called curiosity, the march of science will never stop. We just have to find out what the hidden possibilities of mana. No, it's about mana. You tell a human being to live in this world without trying to satisfy the curiosity. It's just plain impossible. And curiosity is another one of those gifts that your God gave us humans, isn't it? Blasphemy. Did you want to meet with me face to face simply to lecture me on God and human nature? No, we came here because we'd like to pitch something. Pitch. Look at this be now. We're currently developing machines to assist with the work of the mines. They're powered by mana. Be able to understand what we have to do and can carry out those commands. However, we decided to stop work on that. Instead, we decided to devote our time to creating machines to provide support to the sisters at the church. And why exactly would you do that? Father, do you want to work with us at Spitz? I beg your pardon? Right now, even if we build a general hospital in town, there would be far more people who would seek help from the church. But Father, that just isn't going to work out. Sorry to say, but what you're doing isn't going to save a single life. The only way to save people who are dying from mana is with mana itself. We have completely different values, but I'm sure that we share the same fundamental desire to save as many people as we possibly can. Please let us work with you. I'm sure patients wouldn't have any problems if you have them go to the hospital that has your blessing. I see. And there we're gonna have our machines take the place of the sisters instead. We've already partnered with the engineering company to make sure that they look perfectly human. They'll just have as much humanity as we do. If you let the machines deal with the dangerous patients, then I'm sure you can prevent any sisters from losing their lives. This sister project is our way of showing our sincerity in this proposition. Please, won't you consider? I see how it is. Truly a suggestion that can only have been put forth by someone trapped in worldly desires such as yourself. A suggestion that completely and utterly ignores the demands of our church. Well, no, it's enough. This is no longer something we can discuss. However, we should save as many as you can, correct? Your sentiment reeks of arrogance and lack of concern for the souls of the deceased. But very well. I can understand your reasoning. We're very grateful for. However, we cannot accept those machines of yours. Why not? Would you want to prevent any more of the Abby's, I'm just gonna go with Abby's, sisters from becoming victims? Of course, I want to put a stop to the victims, and I wish to save as many people as we can. However, these patients have all come here seeking salvation from God. Well, I suppose you atheist heathens wouldn't understand. No matter how well they can mimic human behavior, like how a hymn sung without a heart won't heal. Prayers from something without a soul won't save anyone. Was Sid just silenced by a member of the clergy? Still, for such non-believers to save lives in the name of the church, convictions have come through. I will need some time. Oh my. The mind sync was cut. The connection just... Oh no. Sorry, I'll get it patched up now. Milady. More importantly, how's your condition? Well... Oh, I mean, how do you feel? Yeah. No, what I mean is, this is just pain. It's the first time I've had so much difficulty connecting the drive right. Is this case that much different than usual? There has to be just the right amount of pressure from the external mana so that the internal mana can stabilize. Being able to refine mana consistently is quite a difficult feat. Even though we look to be the same people, it's amazing how differently our bodies can function. It's like we're completely different species. I beg to disagree. It all boils down to the presence or absence of mana. If we stay here too long, then our mana systems will end up deteriorating, and we can end up with the same physicality as you. Albus, you and we are all just the same human beings. I see. If I may, about the memory just now, you referred to a church. Does that mean there were also mana-related religions in the Outer Pole? There certainly are. In fact, that is why a company like ours was able to grow so much, despite being anything but religious. It was thanks to Eileen's idea that we partnered with the church. Even in the Outer Pole, there are plenty of people who seek help from the god of mana. I never knew. The owner of the pawn shop said that the god of mana had forsaken this land, which led to the development of science. That's pretty accurate. Even though our principles and religions contradict each other, they can still coexist with each other. When it all boils down to it, us humans need something to believe in. Even if it's a god who abandoned us. I had thought this was a land with nothing but self-serving individuals, but that wasn't the case. Sid and Eileen, have such a strong sense of duty and concern. Those two are truly amazing. There's so much I need to learn from such wonderful people. Agreed. I was fixated on working on simply conducting research with those two. They were always wholeheartedly directing their efforts into making Outer Pole a better place. I was often reminded of how different our personalities when they were still around. What do you mean? I've heard that Sid had already moved on to the next world, but his wife, Eileen, also passed on as well. Yes, several weeks after Rune died, she had also passed away. I see. Elaine was killed by Rune. She laced the tea with Eileen, had always drunk with Process 1 before it was refined into a drug. Oh. She was killed by her own flesh and blood daughter. I can't believe it. Rune had often frequented Svitz's labs, had snuck in and stole Process 1 that was kept for research purposes. She had taken enough to kill 10 adults, directors and executives of companies from other Outer Pole regions who were all supporters who were all supposed to merge with Spitz, who were later found dead. Poisoned. Rune that committed after. Here's the one incident. Our dream. Sid's, Aline's, and mine. Our dream to expand Spitz throughout the Outer Pole is completely scrapped. With that, I'm actually going to go ahead and end this episode here. I feel like we got a lot of info. So, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully, I will see you later.